Greetings, Acolytes of the Galaxy, and welcome back to the Archives. Being the personal weapon of choice by the majority of Jedi and Sith, the lightsaber is often the most customizable piece of equipment that any Force-sensitive owns. Beyond even that of their own clothes, Jedi or Sith's lightsaber is often the one thing that is most representative of who they are as a person and their stance in the Force. It is an expression of themselves, which is why it is quite uncommon to see any Force-sensitive who hasn't crafted their own unique lightsaber. Only the Jedi Sentinels and the Imperial Knights ever really passed down their lightsabers from master to apprentice, skipping over the need for them to craft their own. However, Darth Bane, creator of the Rule of Two, actually never constructed a lightsaber for himself, despite knowing quite a bit about them and being fascinated with them. In Legends, Bane's lightsaber was an item that was actually gifted to him by one of his teachers, and it was something that he would carry with him for the rest of his life. This is quite interesting, as Bane is not a man who is considered to be sentimental in the slightest. So what was it about Darth Bane's lightsaber that kept him from ever desiring to replace it, and what made it potentially one of the most dangerous in all of the lore? Well, today, my friends, we are opening up a holocron to study Darth Bane's lightsaber, why it was perfect for him, and why he did not ever feel the need to construct one of his own. But first, we'd like to thank today's sponsor, Own a Saber. And at the end of this holocron, we will showcase the custom engravings that you can get on your own saber, as well as the unique custom and movie-inspired hills. So if you're interested in claiming a blade of your own, stay tuned to the end. Darth Bane was gifted his lightsaber by his own blade instructor known as Kasim. Kasim would tell Bane that he was not the second owner of the lightsaber, but in fact the third. The original wielder of the blade was a Sith Lord named Nadaz, who was a Sith Lord during the era of the New Sith War. We know very little about the Sith Nadaz, other than what Kasim tells Bane. The story goes that Lord Nadaz was a Sith in a long line of spectacular duelists, and was among the finest of his age. Nadaz was a Twi'lek and desired to have an apprentice from his own race, so he often pursued slave markets on Nal Hutta in order to find and buy an apprentice that showed significant power in the Force. And this is where he would find the young Kasim, eventually purchasing the boy and raising him from infancy, teaching him rarely from birth the ways of the dark side. Kasim even mentioned that his earliest memories were of watching his master drill in lightsaber combat endlessly, and eventually, Kasim would outgrow him in feats with the blade, eventually challenging his master and defeating him in one-on-one combat. The Twi'lek apprentice killed his master in a duel, and as a trophy, he took his lightsaber for his own. Although Nadez preferred the single-handed blade lightsaber, he taught Kasim in the ways of the saber staff. Therefore, Kasim himself would actually never use his master's blade. He simply kept it until the time was right. That time would present itself whenever he met Bane at the Academy on Korriban. Bane had suffered a humiliating defeat at the hand of the Academy's best duelist, a Zabrak named Sirak. Though Bane was publicly shamed, he went to Kasim for help in private, since his disgrace didn't allow him to attend classes with the rest of them. Kasim reluctantly agreed, interested in Bane's progress, and he would train him in secret. Eventually, Bane would challenge Sirak yet again and defeat him, making a huge comeback in both reputation and personal assurance. Impressed by this victory, Kasim would visit Bane in Cloak of the Night and gift him the lightsaber while telling him the story behind it. Bane would go on to carry the lightsaber for the rest of his life, never making any modifications to it, and keeping it in the condition it was when he first received it. After his eventual and supposed death at the hands of Darth Zana, Bane's lightsaber would be temporarily given to Zana's apprentice, a Sith by the name of Darth Cognis, who used it until she too built her own lightsaber. After this, it isn't known what happened to Bane's lightsaber, but it is assumed that the blade continued its journey down the line of succession of the Rule of Two, before eventually landing in the possession of one Darth Sidious. So what exactly was it about this lightsaber that made it so incredibly special? At first glance, there wasn't much that would make this weapon stand out among others, but there are two distinct features that we are told about which worked very well with Bane's style. The first and most prominent feature was the fact that it was a curve-tilted lightsaber, with the novel describing it as being hook-shaped. Curve-tilted lightsabers are actually quite rare. This is because it took a specific kind of duelist to make their hilt curved. Since it was made especially for lightsaber dueling, the curve of the hilt would change the angle of the attacks by the merest fraction of a degree, just enough to confuse and disorient an opponent. When it came to force sensitives, this type of subtle change made the biggest difference in lightsaber combat, since precision was key in winning duels. Count Dooku is the most famous wielder of the curved-tilted lightsaber, and used it to perfect his form in Makashi, the duelist form. Because Makashi is a lot like a fencer's form, the curved hilt helped him to direct his strikes with incredible accuracy. Even in our world, there are fencing blades that are made with curved hilts that real fencers use with this exact purpose in mind. They are more comfortable when resting in the palm. However, Darth Bane didn't actually use a one-handed style, but instead used the curved hilt two-handed style. This is what made him so deadly. As a practitioner of Gem So, Bane used his physical bulk to his advantage by choosing a much stronger form. The bend in his lightsaber allowed him to put his other hand closer to the pommel, allowing him to use it like a lever to chop and cleave straight through his opponents. With his strikes already being immensely powerful on their own, adding the leverage made a huge difference. Darth Zana mentioned at one point when she was under attack by Bane that she was completely unable to block his strikes directly, and was forced to switch to parrying and directing the strikes away rather than meet them head on and certainly be killed. And now, the second detail of Bane's lightsaber is one that many would not expect, which is that it was completely weightless. This is a design feature that is strikingly different from most other lightsabers, since typically lightsabers are described as incredibly heavy. By all accounts, Bane's lightsaber should have been incredibly heavy to support a style similar to Vader's, but in actuality, the saber was so light because it was crafted by the Sith Lord, Na Daz, a traditional duelist, who likely would have used Makashi. Fencing swords are also lighter than most weapons in our world today because fencers move with unprecedented speed. Studies have shown that the tip of an Olympic fencer's blade can move almost to even just as fast as a bullet. This is because of their dedicated training and the light weight of the blade. This might sound like a lot of counterintuitive to Bane's Gem So style, but we aren't told that he had any problem with it whatsoever. Having been a miner on Apatros, Bane was used to wielding massive power jacks with which to mine with. He was used to lifting heavy machinery and using it quickly. The light weight of the saber would have been a welcome change, which is probably what made him move with such insane speed during combat. We see this speed whenever he trains in Sarisu, and is able to spin his lightsaber so fast during a rain shower that not a single drop of water ever touched him. His defenses that impenetrable. Darth Bane did not keep this lightsaber out of any sense of loyalty to Qasim, but likely because he learned to use this strange weapon in a way that made him powerful, effective, and unpredictable in combat. This made Bane a startlingly powerful opponent, and a lightsaber wielder that never lost a duel after becoming a Dark Lord of the Sith. Going undefeated. Darth Bane embodied the ideals of an opportunist, and adhered to the philosophy of waste not, want not. He clung to things that worked for him, and disposed of that which became useless. But now, my friends, I turn it over to Onasaber's saber collection themselves. May the Force be with you,